Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Thursday, February 20th, 2025, and this is your AM Update.
This is a negotiation between two fractions of the party that is saying we're willing to work together.
President Trump's choice to head the Labor Department takes center stage on Capitol Hill. Supporters say Labor ally Lori Chavez-DeRemer is the latest pick representing a new Republican coalition. But will the Republicans go for it?
Science and democracy were born together during the Enlightenment, and they share the same ideals for openness, for public access, and for transparency.
As skepticism toward the scientific establishment grows, a new chapter begins at HHS. RFK Jr takes the helm, vowing to increase transparency.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Elon Musk says he's been given the green light to return the NASA astronauts from space following a months-long extended journey up there. And the latest in the legal drama between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update. There is a real and growing threat to your home and your equity, and it's called title fraud. Here's how it works. Criminals can forge a single document, file it with a recorder, and just like that, your home's title is stolen. They take out loans against your property, draining your equity, and you wouldn't even know that it had happened until it was too late. Here's the really scary part. Credit monitoring will not protect you from this problem. But I do want to tell you about Home Title Lock to protect your home and your equity. Their exclusive triple lock protection will give you 24/7 monitoring of your home's title, urgent alerts if there are any changes, and a team of experts to help restore your title if fraud happens at no extra cost. Home Title Lock is offering an exclusive 25% off their protection plans. Go to HometitleLock.com, use promo code Megyn25 to get 25% off your subscription and a free title history report to ensure that you're not already a victim. Protect your home and equity today. HometitleLock.com, promo code Megyn25. Lori Chavez-DeRemer, front and center before the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee in her bid to head the Labor Department. The nomination ruffled Republican feathers. A former representative from Oregon, Ms. DeRemer once co-sponsored a bill protecting the right to organize. The bill was lauded by Democrats for strengthening labor protections and expanding workers' rights. Republicans lambasted the bill for its provision overturning right-to-work laws, which make it illegal to require workers to join a union or pay union dues as a condition of employment. These protections exist in 27 states. Republican members of the committee questioned Ms. DeRemer on her past support for some provisions of this proposed law.
Do you still support the PRO Act or don't you support the PRO Act?
I fully, fairly, and support states who want to protect their right to work. I have said that to every senator that I have visited
So you
with.
no longer support the aspect of the PRO Act that would have overturned state right-to-work laws?
Yeah, there were so many parts.
That's a yes?
Yes.
Do you continue to support the elimination of secret ballots in union elections?
I do not support that portion.
That was Kentucky Senator Rand Paul and then Maine Senator Susan Collins. Ms. DeRemer's biggest obstacle? GOP hesitancy. Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin tried to soften GOP resistance when introducing Ms. DeRemer prior to her opening remarks.
Lori represents someone that is uniquely positioned to bring people like Sean and I, who presented Lori to President Trump and said, this is someone that we can work together with. This is a negotiation between two fractions of the party that is saying we're willing to work together.
The Sean Mr. McMullen is referring to there is Sean O'Brien, president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Senator Mullen and Sean O'Brien, highly unexpected allies, not least of which because of this exchange we saw at a committee hearing back in November 2023, where the two nearly came to blows.
In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, everybody?
No, sit down.
That was Bernie Sanders there, full-time senator, part-time referee. Sean O'Brien telling Fox News he is ready to go to the mat to get Mr. DeRemer confirmed. Overall, the hearing generally lacked many fireworks. Democrats and Republicans both emphasizing the importance of growing apprenticeship training. Mr. DeRemer agreed, when you're down to apprenticeship training, you're in a good place of seeing your nominee confirmed. Virginia Senator Tim Kaine did lay a bit of a trap for Ms. DeRemer at one point.
Should you be confirmed, would you take those obligations to watch out for American veterans seriously?
Absolutely.
If you became aware that an employer, a major employer, was taking actions that disproportionately negatively affected veterans, would that concern you?
Yes.
The mass firing that President Trump is doing within the federal government right now is hitting veterans very, very hard. The civilian workforce is about 3% veteran. The federal workforce is 30% veteran.
Important context there, the Trump administration is not targeting veterans. These are broad cuts designed to lessen the size of government across the board. As Senator Kaine himself points out, the government hires a high number of veterans. Therefore, any broad cuts would naturally affect veterans too, but in no way are they being singled out. Senate Democrats also used their time at the hearing to target Elon Musk.
Will you be a rubber stamp for the anti-worker agenda of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and other multi-billionaires who are blatantly anti-union? They don't make any bones about it.
Will you commit to denying access to Elon Musk or any of his representatives to information about labor violations at OSHA?
It seems like Mr. Musk is getting a big payback from Mr. Trump right in the first month of this administration, and that concerns us greatly.
DOJ's access to federal agencies remains a top issue for Democrats. Elon Musk derided by Dems as a private citizen rummaging through federal databases for personal gain, a claim that's unsubstantiated. Earlier this week, the White House outlined the parameters of Mr. Musk's federal employment status. He is a special government employee serving as a senior advisor to the president. Joe Biden had lots of those too. The filing states, like other senior White House advisors, Mr. Musk has no actual or formal authority to make government decisions himself. He can only advise the president and communicate the president's directives. Democratic attorneys general and other left-leaning groups have launched multiple lawsuits aimed at curbing the president's executive authority. One judge even going so far as to demand the White House restore certain web pages at the NIH. As has become custom in these hearings, Democrats repeatedly ask what the nominee would do if asked to violate the law. Ms. DeRemer consistent in her response.
The President of the United States has the power to determine what he's going to do through his executive power. I am not been confirmed. I have not been read into all that.
I'm asking you, will you follow the law?
I will always follow the law and the Constitution.
She added she does not believe the president will give her an illegal order. Coming up, RFKJ's first full day as head of HHS, and Presidents Trump and Zelensky trade barbs as the U.S. leads peace negotiations on the Ukrainians' behalf. As President Trump begins his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Senator Dick Durbin. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Learn more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late. After a highly contentious confirmation process, RFKJ arrives for his first day as head of Health and Human Services. HHS is a massive department overseeing an approximately $1.7 trillion budget with 11 divisions. As head of the department, RFKJ will oversee public health, social services, and medical research. He will be a critical figure in developing and implementing the Trump administration's healthcare policies. This is a department with its work cut out for it. From RFKJ's remarks on Tuesday.
In the U.S., 6 out of every 10 adults have at least one chronic disease and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. Asthma and autoimmune diseases are far more common in the U.S. than in any other part of the world. Autism now affects 1 in every 36 kids. Our only solution to these issues seems to be more and more pharmaceutical interventions that don't seem to be alleviating the problem, and in many cases appear to be worsening it.
Kennedy referencing studies showing 90% of healthcare spending goes toward treating chronic illness in this country. He says despite paying 2 to 3 times as much for healthcare, Americans are among the world's sickest people. Kennedy says the mission of this department now will be reversing the chronic disease epidemic. The reason for much of the controversy about Kennedy is his history as someone who is unafraid to question the safety of some vaccines. Kennedy's a longtime critic of corporate influence on pharmaceutical companies, too, especially when it comes to research and development. The former FDA administrator, Robert Califf, he estimates approximately 70% of clinical trials are self-funded by the very drug companies seeking approval. RFK committed to the employees of his new agency that their mission will be restoring full transparency and respect of the science without preconceived notions.
Nothing is going to be off limits. Whatever belief or suspicion I have expressed in the past, I'm willing to subject them all to the scrutiny of unbiased science. That is going to be our template.
Actor Zachary Levi articulated the feelings of many Americans on the Megyn Kelly Show yesterday.
But I think that these are things that have been long overdue. And we deserve it. Everyone deserves this kind of transparency. Like, light is the best disinfectant. Like, just get in there. Just look at it all. Yep. Let's have a real coming to Jesus moment. And we need to do that with all things. We need to bring the American public in on a lot of these things that have been secretive. And no, we can't tell them, like, rip the Band-Aid off.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky in a war of words as the U.S. lays the groundwork for peace negotiations in Ukraine. Their leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, voicing increasing criticism of the Trump administration.
And there are a lot of different voices around new American administration, and I'm not sure that all these voices on our side. Now we can't rule out the possibility that America might say no to Europe on issues that threaten it. It's up to them, but they can discuss everything they want, but not about Ukraine without us.
All of those sound bites took place within the last week. At a Tuesday press conference at Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump returned some of the criticism.
Today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed and no city would have been demolished.
Democrats have interpreted that comment as President Trump accusing the Ukrainians of starting the war. This is Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
President Trump amazingly blamed Ukraine for Putin's invasion. And it's disgusting to see an American president turn against one of our friends and openly side with a thug like Vladimir Putin. The people of Ukraine did not start this war. Vladimir Putin did.
That sentiment repeated across the cable networks. Mr. Zelensky called a press conference yesterday in Ukraine saying he would like to, quote, have more truth with the Trump team because this does not have a positive impact on Ukraine. In those same remarks, he asserted the belief that the U.S. is helping President Putin, quote, come out of years of isolation. And yet President Trump's remarks are very much in line with the many previous times he has said this war was not inevitable. Mr. Trump acknowledges the Russians' claims that NATO expansion poses a legitimate threat to their national security, but he also believes in Ukrainian sovereignty. In the months leading up to the invasion, there were multiple failed diplomatic efforts by the Biden administration to dial back the crisis. Mr. Trump lays much of the blame on Joe Biden for strategic blunders along the way. National Security Advisor Mike Walls remains adamant that both sides, of course, will have a say in the final outcome. This from an appearance yesterday on Fox News.
At the era of an endless grinding war, with death and destruction on all sides, costing hundreds of billions and costing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lives, that era is over. President Trump has been very clear he intends to bring this war to an end, that all sides need to be bought into that.
Ukrainian elections were suspended earlier this year. The country has been under martial law since the beginning of the invasion. The White House's rapid response account posting to X yesterday, quote, "In America, we hold a presidential election every 4 years, even during wartime." Before President Zelensky decides to lecture the American president again, he should hold an election too, end quote. The president clearly warning Zelensky, "You're on thin ice." President Trump and Elon Musk announced the 2 astronauts aboard the International Space Station will be brought home in a matter of weeks. Originally scheduled for just an 8-day mission, astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have been in space since June. Technical issues with their Boeing Starliner led to an indefinite extension of the trip. Don't you hate it when your flight gets canceled? Elon Musk placing blame for the long delay on the Biden administration.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
The astronauts themselves dispute that characterization. Here they were earlier this week with CNN's Anderson Cooper.
Do you feel you've been abandoned?
We don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded. I understand why others may think that. We come prepared. We come committed. That is what your human spaceflight program is. It prepares for any and all contingencies that we can conceive of, and we prepare for those. So if you'll help us change the rhetoric, help us change the narrative, and let's change it to prepared and committed.
The projected launch date for their return, March 12th. The latest on the It Ends With Us drama, which seems never ending. Blake Lively amends her complaint against co-star and director Justin Baldoni. In the 163-page document, Lively now alleges that multiple women felt uncomfortable on the set as a result of Baldoni's on-set behavior. She contends her claims are corroborated by other witnesses, but the actress is not naming them, allegedly to protect innocent bystanders rather than exposing them to further harm. She claims the witnesses will testify and cooperate with the discovery process. Mr. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, who happens to be my own lawyer, dismisses the complaint, saying it lacks evidence. Mr. Friedman responding that this complaint is filled with hearsay by unnamed persons, quote, who are clearly no longer willing to come forward or publicly support her claims. Since documents do not lie and people do, the upcoming depositions of those who initially supported Ms. Lively's false claims and those who are witnesses to her own behavior will be enlightening. Mr. Baldoni is countersuing Blake Lively for $400 million in damages. The trial is scheduled for March 2026. And that'll do it for your AM update. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here later for The Megyn Kelly Show. We are live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East and on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and all podcast platforms.